Hey everybody, so this is an out with the old, in with the new, get some bridges put into place update here. Old bridge that just got cut out. I didn't like the cord on it. It wasn't thick enough, didn't like the way it looked. It was a little bit too wide. So I decided to replace that, and I went back to an old standard. So this bridge, at least the sides of this bridge, used to be here. If you watched the 2020 layout tour, you'll remember that this bridge was kind of in this place when this was all double track through here. However, the skew was all wrong. So I ended up repurposing the sides. I pulled the old bridge part, repurposed the sides. The deck is from the bridge I just cut out, so that's been done. And this got all rebuilt on the underside, new superstructure, new cross bracing. Of course, you don't have to paint the bottom, so that's why you can see that white up there, because you're never going to be able to see underneath this thing. So still have to get the abutments in place. Hope to get that done this week sometime, and track back in. Of course, it's on a curve, so you'll see that there's a green strip there. That's super elevation. That's just 1/8" masking tape laid on top to keep a nice super elevation from each side right through that curve. Curved cord also, so straight deck, curved track. So you have to make sure that it's wide enough that your longest equipment won't interfere with the sides. This is the upper end of the narrow, so we're upstream here. And this bridge, in the last update, I mentioned that this was going to be a skewed through plate, very similar to that one. However, I always change my mind on things, and once I get something that I really like, I just go with it. So I decided to make this because we have more space between the riverbed and the bottom of the bridge here, because this is upgrade and the river's flowing downgrade here. I decided to go with a deck plate. But this is a modern welded style deck plate. So this is just styrene construction, really simple. I did actually a video on constructing these two bridges for my members there. I'm going to go with a little bit different style of abutment here. Instead of just your regular wing wall abutment, this is going to be a box abutment, okay? And now, I also wanted this to be more modern. So if you look on the sides here, you can see that this is painted with panels. It's also textured that way. So instead of board form concrete, this would be panel form concrete. So formed panels, not precast put together, but cast in place. But these are 6-foot by 10-foot panels. So the railroad would have built panels and used them instead of individual boards. I built these things hollow so they can fit over top of the roadbed, and that really helps out. Normally, I'd cast these things out of plaster. I've got forms built out of styrene to cast them out of plaster, very similar in shape. But because these ones are a little bit different, a little bit of an angle on here because of the curve, I decided just to do them out of styrene, and plus, this might be the way I do them from now on, because this worked really, really well. Just being able to drop them over top of here and set them in place. And of course, to get them to the perfect height, you could just put some styrene strip in here and shim them up anywhere you want. So just to get a kind of an idea how this is all going to look together, that bridge is going to sit in there like that. Of course, it still has to come up, some feet on the bottom, some super elevation tape on there as well. I should have track back in place here in no time. In addition to the bridge work, I'm also trying to get the riverbed and the river bank from Michel Creek done, and get all the color in between Tunnel 6 and Tunnel 7. So as we look up towards Tunnel 6 here, you can see that I've got riprap down in the foreground, up in the bank to stabilize the roadbed, and I've started putting some texture into the river bank itself. Last little mini update. This was still left pink styrofoam. I hadn't decided what I was going to do with it. You can see here that I obviously went with a rock cut, and because this is in a prominent location right at the end of a peninsula, I wanted to make sure that there was really good rock detail, so you can see drill marks down through the rock there where they would have drilled out to set charges to blast that cut open. And if we pan around here, you can see that I am getting ready to continue on with the Michel Creek narrow riverbed also. The abutments have been painted and weathered. They've been set in place, epoxied over top of the roadbed. I've test fit the bridge. Here's the bridge for that area with the track on it. It slips into place. I just did a quick test run over top of it to make sure everything's lined up properly. And you can see further downstream, you can see that the other abutments are also in place. Of course, this abutment and the bridge has been in this area a lot longer than the one upstream, so you'll note that this is a lot darker, a lot more weathering to it, streaking. Everything is just grungier about this, just because it's representing more passage of time. Sharp-eyed observer will note that I ended up hacking out some plies on this 1/2 inch plywood that I had laid down. I didn't really think this one through. I just glued 1/2 inch plywood down with this little notch out here, and I was going to step it down. I didn't really like how abrupt that was, so I ended up having to go in with a chisel and knock off some layers of plywood here to get a more step down approach. Obviously not the most ideal situation, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to fix the mistakes that you've made. I spent some time dropping some cellular clay around the abutments, getting that set in place, and getting the riverbed and the riverbank sort of half-assed detailed so I can get the next step of color going. While that was drying up, fortunately I got 4 packages in the mail, and they're ceiling tiles. So I dropped T-bar into the basement a number of years ago, but could never find tiles I liked. Finally did, and my son and I got laying those into place. After I got the tiles in place, I couldn't believe the difference it made to the atmosphere of the layout room. You can see here that in conjunction with the black valance and the black fascia, there's no more distraction. You're now hyper-focused on the layout itself. This is a trick that museums use all the time, and it's something that I've always been shooting for and always been aware of. Really happy with the outcome here. October should see a lot more scenery work done through here. I'm hoping to be able to get that layout tour, 2021 layout tour out second week of October and get back to shooting some operations videos. Members, video coming on detailing that riverbed. That'll be Scenery Series episode number 7, I believe. That'll be riverbed between the 2 bridges in the Narrows. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you like what you see, smash that like button.